Here we are, tier 2, core activation. I'm going to light everything up. We're going to really start to sweat now. Hopefully you have a little bit of fun along the way. Do not forget that. This is not work, this is play. I'm here to play in these exercises with you. So if you approach it that way, it's not going to be serious, it's not going to be work. It's just a little bit of fun. I promise you, it will be more fun. It's all about shifting that perspective, right? So here we are. I'm going to start by going onto my back. I'm going to be in, supine position, as it's called. And what we're going to do here is begin to activate anterior core. So we talked about in the first video, tier 1, that we're working on anterior chain. That means front side of the body today. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to push my hands down into the ground, really activating my triceps, lats, and shoulders. So I want you to really focus on making sure that you keep that constant hand and arm tension there. Now what you'll notice the next piece is I'm going to take a big breath into my stomach. Hopefully we're doing that through our nose. Okay, so I'm going to breathe in. Now as I exhale, what I'm going to do is I'm going to exhale, pull my belly button down into my spine, and I'm also going to pull my pubic bone towards my sternum. You can see my hands moving together as I do that. That's me engaging my TVA, transverse abdominis, a piece of my anterior core. So I'm squeezing there. Now we're going to continue along to then bring our knees into our chest as high as we can go. And very slowly going back down. So I'm going to explain that in sequence now. So I'm going to keep the hands pressing firm into the ground. I'm going to breathe into my nose, deeply into my stomach. As I exhale, I'm then going to pelvic tilt. And once I'm done pelvic tilting, I'm going to continue exhaling and driving my knees into my chest. Squeezing my core as I do that. And then I'm going to relax and extremely slowly go back down. A lot of the work done here is actually in going extremely slowly down towards the ground. So I've just done 2 reps. I'm going to do 10 total. So hopefully you're following along with me at this point. Now, again, I'm not going to talk too much during a lot of these, so just continue on with your work as I'm doing this, matching my tempo and pace. And if you need to pause or anything like that, go ahead and pause. I'm going to do 7, 8 more or so. Constantly pushing through the hands. Hopefully you can see me trembling there as I do that. Because as I bring my knees into my chest, I'm working. I'm really trying to bring them into my chest as firmly and forcefully as I can. That's 5. Ooh, I'm feeling it already. The ab pain is a very interesting one. It can be very intense, that burning sensation there. Just try to breathe, take a breath in between reps if you need to. I'm going to do 1 more. Oh, as far as what I was feeling was a ton of rectus abdominis engagement. Okay, I'm really burning, engaging that position. I also feel a little bit of hips, hip flexors, psoas as well. And of course, if you're pushing down hard enough, I'm feeling a little bit of shoulder tension there. Didn't get too much burning sensation or fatigue there, but certainly was feeling it here. Okay, now we're going to transition into the next one. We're going to be in that low lunge position that we did earlier with the stretches, okay? But now we're going to make it a little bit more interesting. So now, although I said earlier we were working on anterior chain, front side of the body, we're going to work the actual posterior chain for this exercise for the purpose of actively opening our anterior chain. So the focus is on the anterior chain as far as opening it goes, but we're actually going to use our hamstrings to be able to do that, okay? So as I said, I'm in this low lunge. Now, how far forward this foot goes to get deeply into the stretch is your call, okay? Some of us may not be able to go this far forward and low into the stretch. Some of us may be back here a little bit more upright. And this is the first time you're doing this exercise, so don't push yourself too hard. Just pay attention to what I'm going to show you. Try a couple reps, and if you want to go deeper into it, then of course you may. So now in the stretch that we did before, things that I offered you as far as considering for holding that position is keeping the core braced here and keeping this glute squeeze. We're going to consider those two things again as we go through the movement. Now, I'm locking down here, locking this glute. Now what I'm going to do, where the real work and movement comes in, is pulling this right heel off the ground. Watch me first. Feel my hamstring a lot as I do that. Go back down as slowly as you can. Keep my glute locked. Pull that heel into the glute. Things that tend to happen here are things such as like bending forward to pull that heel up. You do not want to drop your chest. You want to stay everything in the exact position that you started with. Don't move, don't twist, don't turn. Drive that heel up. I'm going to go for 10. That was about 3. Not about 3, it was 3. No common breathing pattern for this one. Just breathe as you will. Other common things in this position are cramping in this hamstring. Now, if you feel like you're cramping, then focus more on the tightness of your core. So your abs are engaged a little bit firmer. You're squeezing this glute a little bit harder. That'll take some of the stress off this back hamstring. Or you can not pull the heel as high. Just barely lift it, and that works too. Okay, I'm going to do 3 more. Focus on what you're feeling. Focus on your stability. Good. That was 10. Okay, so the things I'm feeling there is obviously the hamstring working a lot when I pull that heel up, but I'm also feeling the opening here, as I mentioned earlier, and I feel my front leg working to keep me stable as well. My body is certainly getting much warmer at this point. Now we're going to do the other side. So I turn around just so you can see, this is the leg that's down. As I mentioned earlier, my left hip is a little bit tighter, so I'm going to be a little bit more mindful with how I go about this one. My left hamstring tends to be tighter on this side too, so it's quite possible that I'll cramp on this hamstring. I'm going to try not to, but again, be mindful for yourself and what side feels tighter or looser. So I'm squeezing my left glute, I'm bracing my abs in this position. I'm going to pull that heel towards my glute. Very slow. You may notice that it doesn't go quite as high as my right side. I'm okay with that. Got to keep the balance at the same time. Good. As slowly as you can. Going for 10 on this side. Sometimes the glute will disengage as you go about. It's important that you continue to remind yourself to keep this glute locked. Easier said than done. Still bracing my abs as well. That's 6. I'm going to do one more. Okay. Now, as far as what I felt more so on that side was actually a little bit less opening on the front, less on the anterior side of the hip, and I was actually feeling my left hamstring work a ton in that. Which is okay, you know, as I said earlier, those are the things that we're going to notice as we do unilateral exercises. One side's going to be a little bit tighter or more capable of engaging, one side's not, and we're doing these to even ourselves out. So that's the exercise number 2. Exercise number 3 is going to be far more anteriorly core engaging. And again, this one, judge how long you should be going for yourself. I'm going to go for about a minute. Start small if you've not done something like this or anything like this before, and you can work your way up. You can do 15 seconds, 30 seconds, 45, a minute, or you can do several small sets, breaking short periods of time in between. So, to get into this one, I recommend starting in tabletop position. On your hands and knees. Hands are going to be right under your shoulders, knees under your hips. You're going to put your elbows to the ground from here and shift your hips back slightly. So my hips are just behind my knees. Okay, my eyes are basically over my thumb tips here. Okay, and my elbows are pushing down through the floor to protract my shoulder blades. So my shoulder blades are not sinking back in together, but they're pushing down and away into the ground. Okay, that's very important. Now watch my low back here. My low back now is not arched, but rather I'm going to round it a little bit. And what that's going to do is engage my core, my transverse abdominis, rectus abdominis in this position. So I'm adjusting my spine here into flexion. Now, where things get real spicy, is I'm going to lift my knees off the ground to hover just barely over the ground. And I'm going to maintain that position for as long as I feel appropriate for myself. So here I go. I'm always thinking about pushing my shoulder blades through the ground. I'm always thinking about bracing my abs, pulling my stomach up into my spine. I'm rounding my low back. I'm hovering my knees just barely over the ground. I'm breathing deeply into my stomach, firmly out. Now you can see I'm trembling. I'm working here. I'm getting super warm. It is not meant to be easy. This is very challenging. But that's why you're here. You're here to work. You're here to improve your health, fitness, body, maybe mind as well. I got 3, 2, 1. Yeah. Is my face more red now? Maybe a bead of sweat? So, I just did a minute there. I did 3 exercises, okay? I did the supine pelvic tilting knee tuck. I did 10 of those. Then I did a low lunge heel pull, and I did 10 on each side. Then I went into the fetal bear position, just named that just now, where I was on my elbows, toes, knees just barely off the ground, and I held that for nearly, or just about 1 minute. I did 1 set. Now, you're to press this pause button right down here, and you're to repeat that either 1 or 2 more times, whatever you feel appropriate for your timing, and obviously what your body is feeling as well. But do it at least 1 more time, and then possibly for bonus and extra credit, 2 more times. And if this is where we end today, then congratulations, you already went through your mobility, flexibility, and core activation, and you're set for your day. If you're moving along to dynamic core or dynamic movement, then I'll see you in the next video in the next tier. Later, guys.